This is the Stop Playing podcast with Sham and Shaka. I'm Sham.
I'm Shaka. What's going on, Sham?
I'm all right. How are you?
I'm really good. It's been a very good week. I'm really excited. We're back on Friday.
Yes.
Friday Night Lights. Yes, I'm happy. And even though spring is around the corner, today did not feel like it, but I was outside a lot today.
Awesome.
In general.
It's been very warm this week too, like high 50s, damn near 60 every day.
Yeah, except today. Except today. It was not like that. It was very cold.
Really? You think so? I walked outside. It seemed all right. I think it was just a wind though. I think the temperature was up, but it was just windy.
Yeah.
I mean, where I live, I'm not sure. But
we live thousands of miles away from each other.
Oh,
guys.
absolutely.
Don't you understand that?
Thousands.
Yeah. Yeah. What time is it? What time is it there?
In reality, though, like sometimes you can be like, you can go right down the street and it'll be raining and then come back home and it's not raining. So
of course,
the shit be funny.
Trust me, you live further away than like both my parents and all that. They'd be like, it's raining here, so buckle up there. It's coming. It's like, all right, never mind. Anyway, but yeah, no, it's been a very good week. I like when we tape on Friday sometimes because we have our little on hands at my job on Friday, and we did some good stuff today. So work is going very well. They gave us some extra PTO, which is always good. Yeah, I know.
That place loves y'all.
They do. They trying to make us comfortable in the pandemic. And they reminded me, Sham, that it's National Women's Month.
Yeah, March. Women's History Month.
Women's History Month. So you doing anything?
Making history every day.
Ah, okay. That's how I felt in February.
Every day this month, I'm making history as a woman.
That's exactly how I felt in February. So I feel like we did this bit, but anyway, but good. So how about yourself? How's your week been?
Pretty good. Actually, I started off the week by having dinner with one of my friends I have not seen in a while.
Good.
And actually my former leader at my last law firm. We went and caught up, had a nice dinner, met his wife for the first time. Lovely lady.
Wow.
Yes.
For the first time?
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Yep. She said, "Oh my God, he talks about you all the time." I said, "Really? Me? You talk about me at home?"
That's nice. That's cool.
Yeah.
Reunions are always cool. So he still works there?
He's a big person there.
Oh, all right. Works there is an understatement.
Yeah.
All right. There would be no there without him. That kind of thing. All right. Gotcha.
But
well,
yeah,
cool.
got a chance to meet the wife, as I was saying. Went to his house, beautiful home. So we went downstairs. He has his wine cellar, right? And he knows I was going to talk about this. I even let me take pictures. I mean, I told him, I said, "Dude, there is no way in your lifetime that you can drink all this wine." And he was like, it's just nice to have when people come over. So I went in there. I left with 12 bottles of wine.
What?
Then he says, "You know what? I just bought a bunch of tequila. Hold on. Let me go get you a box." He's like, "Yeah, I just bought too many. Just take it." I'm like, "What?" Okay, thank you.
Wow.
But
well, that was very generous of him.
He's a very generous individual. He loves to give. And I tell him all the time, I said, this relationship is not going to work out because I don't like taking, but you like giving. So then his wife says, "Well, you're always going to lose because he's always going to want to give." So
that's nice. You ain't like taking, but you took that night.
I was forced. They doubled up on me. I said, "All right, fine. Just put it in the car."
That's funny. Well, that's nice. That was nice.
Yeah, it was cool.
So that was in the middle of the week or something?
That was Monday. That's how the week started off. And then, as I was telling you before the show, some good things kept happening throughout the week that no need to discuss on here. But
no.
And so
we started well and ended well.
It did end well all the way up until before we started taping, and now it's even better because we're taping. But I did tell you, and I'm going to tell the family about my little scratch off habit. So
yeah, and I said there's a word for this, but go ahead. you go ahead. Let everybody else make their decisions on it.
So during the pandemic, when, we were all just kind of stuck in the house and watching TV and stuff, I was watching repeats of this show called My Lottery Dream Home that comes on HGTV.
Seen it.
And many of the people on that show were winning like all this money just off of scratchers. So I was like, and up until that point, I will say, I had only maybe done a scratcher once or twice in my life. Somebody gave me one, you go to a party, somebody hands out a scratcher as a party favor, that type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So after that, I said, man, these people are really winning a lot of money. Let me go get a bunch of scratchers. I have not won any more than $100 on one scratcher. So
now you're sharing this with the family. You did not share how this started.
That's how it started.
Yeah. Wow. Keep going.
No. So I had gotten like a bunch of money as like a birthday present or something. And I went and bought a bunch of scratchers. And then I scratched them. And every time I would either win back what I paid or I would win more. So I would just keep recycling the money that I win. So I never have to come directly out of my pocket to buy more. So I'm never losing pretty much.
Right.
And so this went on for probably about 4 months. And then I finally got down to the last one and like got to zero. So I was like, all right, fine. That's the end of my scratcher. So a couple months later, I was feeling good this week. So I was like, oh, you know what? Let me just go get some scratchers. So I got some yesterday. I scratched them all last night. And then I got my money back plus some. So now I'm back in the cycle.
Like I said, I think there's a word for that. But no, that's what's up. That's what's up. You're not losing. So that's the thing. Right. Technically speaking. So
exactly.
You're running out the string of your winnings.
Exactly.
Yeah. Which I'm not an expert on these things, but there's a word for that too. No. Listen, so do you consider that gambling?
It's absolutely gambling.
Okay.
That's not even a question.
I was just asking, just making sure we're on the same page.
I don't even know who would argue that that's not gambling. Well, who would say that?
Under the gambling umbrella. But no, I know a lot of scratch offers. Actually, as a matter of fact, a lot of my some of my I had one former coworker who he religiously would buy so it's different than what you're saying, but he would buy scratch offs every week. But he would do it like on Fridays and stuff like that.
No, I can't do that.
And he got it down to a science where you play the numbers and play the odds and understand, okay, well, I need to buy like $25 worth of these types of scratch offs to make a little bit of a profit. So it was kind of like he played a game with it. And he was good with numbers. So it was the equivalent to him of like counting cards, but when like lottery would come around, we would pool with him in terms of like the big stuff. Cause he would also be the organizer of the big pools where you sign the paper and everybody gets a copy and stuff like that. You ever participate in stuff like that?
Nope.
In an office? I have, like a couple of times. Yeah. I mean, that's old school. My mom would tell me about that. Like, oh yeah, we used to do that. Everybody sign their names and stuff. So no confusion, get a copy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've seen people do that, especially for like Mega Millions and like Powerball and stuff like that. I'm just not into like that lot, like picking numbers, and it's too much chance. I feel like, you have to like really be like, okay, I want this number, this one. And then you can probably get random tickets too.
Yeah.
But
definitely. Yeah.
I don't know. Like that's too much for me. Like many of my family members play the lottery like every week. My dad plays every day. Like I'm too cheap for that.
Well, you know what? I think there are different ways to get to the same destination. Everybody plays how they're comfortable with. So, it's all good. But I'm glad you're enjoying that, though. Yeah, one of the stories we're talking about actually is going to although I had a spectacular week for real, there was one very, very irritating part about it that we'll talk about in our stories. But I'm really excited though. Episode 97.
97 was an excellent year.
Yeah, really. What was so excellent about it?
That's when I graduated from high school.
Okay, cool. Actually, you know what? You know what's crazy? We're coming up on it's March the 5th, 97. Coming up on a little March the 5th, 2021. But it's our 97th episode. We're coming up on March 9th. March 9th, 97. That's biggie.
Yeah, I remember where I was when that happened.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I was at work. I used to work at Wendy's. I had just gotten to work, and I think maybe I told it. Have I told this story in here before? Remember when Motorola used to have those big pagers that had like the sports scores and stuff? It was like a real big pager. It had a screen on it. And my dad worked for a courier company at the time, and they were handing out these really nice, huge Motorola pagers. Mm-hmm. And every time they did like their yearly like contract, he would give me one too. And he'd be like, this is just for emergency if you need me, that kind of thing. So, but I used to wear it on my belt loop.
Okay.
And I happened to be at work. I was in the drive-thru at Wendy's talking to one of my coworkers, and then like I just picked it up and looked at it because just as usual, I was looking at sports scores and stuff. And across the pager, it said that the notorious B.I.G. passed away at age 24.
Wow.
Yep, right across the screen. And that's like how I knew about it. Yep.
Yeah, I was still in high school. Well, I mean, I guess we both were, but I was a sophomore, and I think I had a friend over, and we were chilling out in the afternoon, and we saw it on television, just like that. Mm. I mean, we were just sitting around. It was like, what? And Tupac had died literally like 6 months before that. Mm-hmm. So it was just like, okay, so rappers are just getting killed, like the major guys. Unfortunately, now rappers getting killed is like damn near commonplace, especially when you talk about like drill and stuff like that. But back then, I mean, this was major stuff. This was like Biggie got killed. Mm-hmm. And, as much as I like Pac, and I've said this a million times on this podcast.
That's your boy.
Yeah. And it will always be. I mean, he's the GOAT, in my opinion. But he played an active part in his demise. And that's my most polite way of ever saying it. That it was sad when he got killed, but it was kind of like, man, you kind of were like courting that. And he was saying, Biggie was not doing anything. I mean, he was living his life, and he not even got caught up as in got swept up. It was just unfortunate things happening around him. And then Biggie's death was absolute nonsense. I'll just put it that way. Like both of them, their death was nonsense, but it was like he was not doing anything to even remotely. And then when you dive into it, have you ever seen those specials? Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's like Tupac, on one hand, I'll put it, and I'll leave it like this. Tupac facilitated the direct events that caused his death. He did not deserve to die. No one does like that, but he like participated in stuff that causes death. Biggie did not, period. At least his immediate death. No, he did not. And so it's incredibly sad. But yeah, so we're going to see a lot of tributes and stuff like that coming up.
I was watching Blackish this week, mm-hmm. and it was about how Dre was kind of Anthony Anderson's character was mm-hmm. kind of aging out of like a certain hip hop subset. Whereas like when he first joined the company, he was that dude. He was the black dude that had his ear on to the pulse, that expression. Like he was mm-hmm. on the pulse. Mm-hmm. And then so like
ear to the ground.
Yeah. And so like his daughter Diane was like, yeah, I'm doing a report or something about something that's dead. And he was like, what? And she was like, hip hop culture is death. And he was like, what? Hip hop isn't dead, blah, blah, blah. And she was like, hip hop is so dead that the best rapper alive is a dead man.
That's crazy.
And he was like, "What are you saying? Rakim's not dead." Rakim the GOAT. Wow. Which for me, I've often said this, Rakim is my GOAT, although Black Thought is up there. But it was funny that she said it that way, because then you could debate on who that person is. It could be Tupac or it could be Biggie. But the whole episode was like, you know, like the meeting of the new, kind of like discovering the new generation of hip hop and like not letting go of the past. It was a really good episode.
Good. You know, I started watching Blackish, but I didn't get into it as much as I should have. I didn't follow it. I didn't continue to follow it. But I respect all the actors on there. Love them. Love Tracy Ellis Ross and all that. You want to tell the people where they can find us?
Sure. Go to www.stopplayingpodcast.com. Scroll all the way to the bottom of the page. You'll find the plethora of platforms we're available on. Please choose your favorite. You can also find us on YouTube at the Stop Playing Podcast YouTube channel, Facebook and Instagram at the Stop Playing Podcast, and on Twitter at Stop_Playing_Pod.
Plethora of platforms. Nice little alliteration.
I love alliteration.
Yeah. It's awesome. And when it rolls off the tongue. So, all right, listen, we have sort of a lot of continuation of stories from last week in terms of the big news. The stimulus, we were hoping and still might hope at last week that since the House passed the stimulus, the Senate would go ahead and pass stimulus this week. Unfortunately, the Republicans have adopted what they wanted. Basically, it's a stall. They want to stall it. They know it's going to pass. Ron Johnson, who we haven't talked about on this podcast, is a completely insane senator from Wisconsin. I've seen him on talk shows and all that stuff. He's a complete 45 supporter to the core. He also, he's one of those people that will, to your face right now, tell you that it was Antifa that attacked the Capitol. Mm-hmm. Even when they had the insurrection hearings, he used this question to be like, okay, so just to be clear, couldn't it have been possible that Antifa came? He's one of those type of people. For the stimulus and for a couple of the other acts that Congress has, he decided what he wants to do starting today is he wants to read every word of the bill, which for a congressional bill will take hours. Actually, the estimate is 12 hours. So this is his version of a filibuster. Now, he knows the bill will pass regardless. This is his way to clout chase and grandstand and either put himself in position to win his I believe he has a 2022 Senate race, or go even further than that and maybe announce a candidacy for 2024. So he wants to be a celebrity amongst conservatives and Trumpists by doing this. So this will hold up the stimulus because the stimulus will pass. Now, it will pass with $1,400, not $1,800, as was originally desired. And then we also talked about the minimum wage last week. And the threshold, the income threshold, a lot of even moderate Democrats. So we talked about Joe Manchin from West Virginia. Some of these Democrats, the previous threshold was 100,000 for a single person. Mm-hmm. They now lowered it. I thought they lowered it. Yeah, it's 150 for married people, right?
It's just for households,
right?
It doesn't say.
So I believe it's 75 to that point. I think it's 75 from 100 for a single person. So that excludes people from getting it. And, you know, the fact that moderate Democrats want this is like, why? It's like, what? You and I talked about this last week. What is the logic here? We're already printing money for everything else. People still need money for the stimulus. So anyway, between that and between the obstructionism, but stimulus checks, if this goes, they'll get out like in 2 or 3 weeks.
Well, tonight
that's what everybody wants.
Well, tonight they did decide on what to do with the unemployment benefit of the coronavirus package. So they're basically saying that the jobless benefit that's now a $300 supplement per week is going to be extended to September 6th. Also, the first 10,200 in unemployment aid will be non-taxable. So if most people have already gotten that at this point. But that provision will apply to households with incomes 150,000 and under. And that's no specification on whether it's single or it's just a flat 150 or under.
Okay.
So that was the Senate Democrats who looked at that as like a compromise. So the House has to, by next week or by March 14th, agree to some degree about whether that's going to be a thing. But
I believe. Go ahead.
So March 14th is when the current 300 per week unemployment benefit expires. So they're pushing it to September 6th.
6 months. So, and I want to say there was some question about whether it would be 400 a week versus 300 a week. It's 300 a week now based on a compromise anyway. Like, I guess the point
initially it was 400 and
exactly. And it's like, I guess what budget are we trying to stick to? We're in a pandemic. Like, people, what are they scared of? Well, we talked about it last week. Inflation, like, we're in a pandemic. And you guys didn't care about that with the tax cuts and everything else when the world was normal. We're in a pandemic now. Get people the money they need to survive. And then after that, we can start worrying about purse strings. But whatever. It's all ridiculous. But now, as part of that, real quick, is the voting rights bill. The voting rights bill is essentially, this is the biggest overhaul of the Civil Rights Act from 64 in a while. So what we're talking about here, we're talking about everything. We're talking about like voter suppression, all the stuff that came into effect in 2020. Basically, the Democrats in the House and Congress made sure to have a huge overhaul on voter reform, election reform, making sure. Now, I'm not trying to say this is a magic wand that's going to fix a lot of the problems that we talked about on this show about the difficulty, for example, in places like Texas that we'll talk about getting to a poll and things of that nature. But it reinforces a lot of stuff in the Civil Rights Act and the Voting Rights Act to stop voter suppression, especially of minorities, to put more resources in making sure people can vote, to try to wipe out like these obscure laws that basically eliminate minority voters. This was still fought tooth and nail this week as well, but it did pass, or it is going to pass because of the Democratic majority. But the only reason I wanted to bring that up, here we are in 2021. The Civil Rights Act was passed in 64 as part of, like, the Voting Rights Act was part of. We are still in 2021 trying to, like, have a tooth and nail fight over whether, especially minorities, get to vote, like, on time and conveniently like they're supposed to. Like, that's the kind of fight that we're having right now. And it's a razor thin margin.
I'm mad that it was unanimous. Republicans voted unanimously to against it.
Yeah.
Like, yo,
tripping.
And some of them tripping. That's the crazy part.
Like, that's what I'm saying. That's why it's razor thin. Like, tripping. It's like this. It's 2021. Like, here's the resolution to let Black people vote for at a precinct less than 100 miles away. Against, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's what they're saying. Yeah, but anyway. So that was Congress this week. Obviously, they still having hearings. Shan, one thing about the hearings on the insurrection, I just like every Black person that they call up there comes with receipts. I didn't put this on it. That's what we do. Hey, man, I'm not getting in trouble over this. Okay? Whatever.
CYA.
They called the head of the DC National Guard up there. He came with his receipts. He learned from his counterpart at the Capitol Police Department. He said, listen, I had my National Guardsmen ready. We have to have permission to come. I made a call at X X time, X time, X time, X time. I had people ready on the bus to come down there. I don't know what to tell y'all. And here are the receipts. Here's the records. Thanks. if you need anything else, I got more records for you. I'm going back to work. I'm not getting in trouble over this. See you later. So, yeah, that was just a footnote. Now, big story. And, you know, Sham, I was listening to some of our old shows, as I like to do. And at the beginning of the pandemic, we talked, and we mentioned this last week, but it has gotten exponentially worse. Andrew Cuomo. This situation is very, very bad right now. This is not a good look for him. We are now in the, like, it's more likely than not that he should resign territory.
Yeah, if they stripping powers from him, then yeah, what's next?
And stuff is coming from really two main different directions. There's the sexual harassment / Me Too in general harassment scandal, where we now have a third person that came out this week. And there's like a photo of them, and she describes what's happening in that photo. And you and I have talked about this before. I don't know if this falls in the same category as what we were talking about with Joe Biden and that woman that he like invaded her personal space. Right. But at the same time, this woman also is talking about things he said to her. And every woman is talking about things he said to her or he said to them. And he's apologized for those things. And look, at least one of them, from what I heard, Andrew Cuomo is 63 years old. I don't know when this conversation took place, but it didn't take place that long ago. So I believe he was 60. And the young woman he was talking to, an aide, was in her 20s. And she was, I think she came in there to like transcribe a report for him or something like that. And then he had her stop the transcription. So it was like she came in there in an official capacity at first, but then he had her stop. And then he basically was asking her if the gist was, how comfortable would she be dating an older man? And he like volunteered that he would be comfortable dating a younger woman. And just, he kind of like turned the conversation left. Again, very succinct summary and very probably polite summary based on what she's saying. But the point being, these are the types of things they're reciting things verbatim that he said to the point where he had to apologize. That's bad in and of itself. The scandal before that was the scandal where it's looking like he was trying to fudge coronavirus numbers, especially mortality rates in nursing homes. And at first, it looked like he was trying to get past that before the sexual harassment thing came out. But then this week, at the beginning of the week, a third person came out about the sexual harassment. And then yesterday, the New York Times came out and had a report from one of his aides that basically confirmed that he, forget fudge, like completely rejected reports and basically like fabricated reports about numbers. Now, this is from an aide, an anonymous one, reporting to the New York Times. He can't, one scandal is bad enough. Two scandals at the same time? I don't think so. I think we'll see a resignation from him. This is just, a very high take prediction. Not that hot. I mean, a lot of people are saying that, but that'd be a shame, though.
Yep. And fundraising is about to be pulled as well. So,
yeah.
That's the other thing.
And he was making his name on bread and butter, like having those conferences every day. And people were giving him credit because they were saying his measures were. I was too. By people, like all of us. Mm-hmm. He was very transparent. He was putting these measures in place. New York was a hot spot, and it was a testament to, okay, if you put these measures in place, it will subside. And if you fudge your numbers, it's like now you're giving ammo to people who don't want to wear masks and stuff. So whatever.
Yeah, but I still think the orders that he put in place and the conferences and all that stuff helped. I feel like a lot of the stuff that he did was excellent. beyond the fact that the numbers were fudged. I mean, it was a necessary, not that fudging the numbers were not necessary, but a lot of the things that he did during that time were necessary.
Right.
To kind of rehab New York. So, I mean, there is some good that came out of it, but all this stuff looks so bad.
It looks horrible. Actually, that's what makes me more mad about it, because it's like, you don't have to do that. Don't fudge the numbers. The numbers have to be better than they would have been if you didn't put those measures in place. So just leave the numbers as they are.
Yep.
That you're giving fuel to people like who I'm about to talk about next. So look, we talked about ERCOT. I'll start with ERCOT. Look, we talked about the board members. We talked about all that. They resigned. So it's 15 board members in general. I dug into the story. Of the 15, 5 don't live in Texas. That's 5 too many. I've actually kind of gotten a healthy discussion with some of our podcast family, especially those in Texas. And I would say a third of them that I was talking to don't have a problem with the fact that those people don't live there.
Yeah, they thought it was good that they didn't, because they had an outside perspective, a different perspective.
Exactly. 2/3 didn't. 2/3 thought they should. And I'm with those 2/3, and here's why, based on the next story. Another independent commission in Texas this week determined that ERCOT oversaw, but all the Texas utilities overcharged by something like a few $100 million over the course of the week for utility bills. So basically, we knew that the utility bills got hiked up as they were trying to do the rolling blackouts, and they were price gouging. ERCOT was supposed to regulate that. ERCOT and then the Utilities Commission, I forget exactly what it's called, basically told all the utilities they had carte blanche to go all the way up to $9,000 per kilowatt hour, which is the maximum they can do. They let them do that. So basically for 2 days, they let them overcharge the customers for electricity they weren't even getting. And that's the point. Not only did people freeze to death, but then when they came out of it, they had these massive bills. ERCOT and all these people weren't regulating it. That's why you need people who live in the state, because if you live in the state, by definition, you're a customer, no matter what. So you can see what those prices do to you. You're affected by it. And, you need an independent. No, you don't. Everybody in there needs to have some kind of investment in it, period, that's making decisions. So I'm glad those people resign. Now, enough about them. Let's get to the real person in Texas. Ignorant governor, Greg Abbott. This is the man who came out when the crisis first happened and tried to blame it on wind and solar. Immediately out the gate.
Wind kills birds.
Yeah, wind kills birds type dude. So he does that. Immediately gets debunked. Everybody's like, look, man, wind is like 10% of it, and it's oil and gas. Like, what are you talking about? Does that for 2 days, then comes back, walks that back, then comes out and says, okay, well, I'm doing everything I can. And they're like, well, what are you doing? Well, we need to have an investigation at ERCOT. Dude, you're like one of the biggest proponents of ERCOT. What are you talking about, man? Okay, all right, fine. Here's what I know. I want the president of ERCOT, who was Bob Magnuson, or not Bob, but something Magnuson. He resigned, and then the utilities person. So him and his lieutenant governor called for their resignation. All right, dude, you should probably resign. All right, so you're having a bad week. So what do you decide to do this week? I want to deflect the news somewhere else. This man comes out at the beginning of the week and says, all right, you know what? Coronavirus is over. And he says he's not saying this, but he might as well be saying this. No masks whatsoever, removing the mask mandate, and 100% capacity in public places. So next time, if the Dallas Cowboys was having a game tomorrow, fill up Jerry World right now. Everybody no masks. And then when people challenged him, said, oh, well, Texas is still going to make the right decision. Well, you're a Texan and you made the wrong decision. You're the governor. So why would everybody else do it? Like, are you serious?
Then 2 days later, he told everybody to wear masks.
Yeah, still wearing masks. And then going to say, oh, and if we get to a point where we get beyond 15% capacity at the hospital or whatever, then I'll impose it. Well, that's not an if, that's a when.
Right. That's totally a win.
That's
all
a
I gotta
win.
say about it is stay y'all ass in Texas with that bullshit. Don't be coming here. Because guess what? As soon as you cross the border, you better put that damn mask on.
And then you would think so, Sam, but then I dived into the rabbit hole a little bit. I forgot. I mean, this made news because Texas has been in the news, but there are like 18 states that have no mask mandates. And I knew Kristi Noem in South Dakota, who I keep calling the ignorant governor, and I keep stressing the word ignorant. I don't want to sound like I'm sexist or something because Greg Abbott is way more ignorant than her. Texas is way more there's way more of a population in Texas than there is in South Dakota. She coasts on the fact that South Dakota is not that doesn't have that big of a population.
It's mostly land.
Exactly. So even though their statistics are bad, there are 100 different ways you can analyze it. Yeah, Texas has Houston, Dallas, Austin, like all these places. For him to do this is completely reckless. He should be removed from office, period. He wants to run for president too. Why does everyone... Look, since 45 has come in, I think we've all taken kind of a more favorable view of W. That and his relationship with Michelle Obama, she's brought him into our good graces. But for the purposes of this conversation, it has to be said. I mean, every governor of Texas for the last 20 years has been absolutely ignorant. Greg Abbott, Rick Perry, and W. What are we talking about?
They don't care. That's how they like it.
Golly.
That's how they like it. That's how they want it down there. Yo, and your man.
But see, okay, now, real quick, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Well, I did, but I wanted to say this because we said this last time too, and a lot of people said this about Texas. Texas is one of those places where it's difficult to vote. So tying back to my original story. So I would say 55% of people in Texas maybe want it like this. Maybe even 51. But they make it so difficult. Remember that story we were talking about during the election where the nearest precinct for some people was 50 miles away? That's a huge problem. Voter suppression is a huge problem. And those people have to suffer because they can't vote, or either it's hard for them or whatever. And these ignorant people still vote these ignorant senators like Ted Cruz and Greg Abbott in power. So I felt that should be said. I didn't say that before. So I apologize. Go ahead.
I was just going to mention, that didn't stop him this week. He did all that, and he messed around and supported a Senate bill to prohibit social media companies from banning, blocking, demonetizing, or discriminating against a user based on the fact that they live in Texas. Jesus. So you're safe on social media if you live in Texas, according to Senate Bill 12, which is now backed by your ignorant governor.
Ignorant. Greg Abbott. Ignorant. Anyway, so hopefully this Voting Rights Act that's supposed to, be a sweeping act can apply to Texans and bring them into the 21st century. And all those people in Texas, my frat brothers down there, my line brother, all these people who suffer down there, who have some sense. Hey, man, just try to ride it out until we can get some sensible people in power there. And we want you to keep your head up. Now, you talk to me about another place in the country real quick. We talked about a former Detroit mayor before, but what we got?
So the current mayor, Mike Dugan, I'm going to say it's Dugan. It could be Duggan. So the J&J COVID vaccine was pushed out this week, was approved for emergency push out by the government. And many states, including mine, has just immediately started taking appointments to have people vaccinated. So the mayor of Detroit decided that he's not going to accept any Johnson & Johnson COVID vaccines because he says that he still has a sufficient supply of Pfizer and Moderna. And since they are the best, he wants his people to have the best. And so they're not even going to get the option of the J&J one-shot COVID vaccine. Now, the vaccine is only 66% effective at protecting against COVID compared to the other two who are about 95%. But on the flip side of that, the J&J vaccine, from what I'm reading, is better to keep you from dying. So you may get it, but it helps you from dying better than Pfizer. So it's less mortality with the J&J vaccine. However you want to look at it, getting vaccinated is going to help you either way, whichever one you choose. So he's just up and decided that we just not going to allow this allotment of J&J in because we got enough of the other two, and that one's just not as good. But my thing is, if it's anything like, and we've discussed this, anything like Washington, D.C. or some of these states where they have people waiting and waiting and waiting, what is the problem? Just give people options. If people want to take it, let them take J&J. Some people don't. Some people hate needles. It's bad enough with the other two, Moderna and Pfizer. You got to go twice. You got to go once every 3 weeks. You got to get one, wait 3 weeks, get the other one. And a lot of people don't even want to get one. So if people want the option to just get a one-shot vaccine, give it to them. Why are you holding out on those people who want that option?
I mean, I can't stand people who say, we're going to let people make decisions about whether they want to wear masks or not, but then not let them make a decision about which vaccine they want to take. You're going to exclude that. Like, you're talking out of two sides of your mouth. And on top of that, I'm not convinced that the Johnson & Johnson isn't as good. I understand the statistics behind it. I think it's still too early to even flesh that out. If all of them have been approved, give people the option to take it, because I would take whichever one was most readily available. If they've all been tested and they've all been approved, I'm taking whichever one, period. To me, that's Coke, Pepsi, and, maybe Dr. Pepper, whatever. And if it's serving the same purpose, it's serving the same. To make a decision for everyone and to remove an option off the table for your constituency, again, he should be thrown out of office. Like, at this point, anyone that is harming their people should be thrown out of office, which is like all the time. But, and then I'm glad you brought up the vaccine, and I'm glad you brought up just in general how this is rolling out. I have a local beef. I'm going to just put it like this. This is not special to me or DC or anywhere. Everywhere is like this. The way that this vaccine is being rolled out, especially on the local level, where localities, and I'll speak for DC, are opening up the website at a certain time every day. To me, I posted this earlier. It's like it's like Black Friday at Walmart where people come crashing through the door. Okay. And then the store is in chaos. That's what's happening to the site every day. I mentioned it last week. Now they're putting it, okay, well, we're going to put X amount of appointments on. You got to log on at X time to do it. Why don't you just stagger and organize? I mean, could you imagine if voting worked like this? If we talked about, all right, so listen, on the first Tuesday of November, everyone show up to the same place at the same time, and we'll let as many people in as we possibly can. Like, no, that's not how it works. They find out where you live, you register, they stagger, they tell you what time, and they try to arrange it, and they let you mail it. Now, granted, you can't mail in the test, but the point being, they try to organize it based on where you live, they register you, things of that nature. They could do that in a city, in a locality easily, and they're not. And it's stupid. And this is too serious for this kind of stuff to happen.
I'm mad it's only one website.
Thank you.
I don't understand that. Because in Maryland, you have several ways to sign up to get the vaccine. I don't understand how it's only one tunnel. I don't understand that. They
give you a website and they give you one phone number. And the phone number tells you, really, you need to go to a website unless you don't have a computer. That's what the phone number tells you. I called it just to see. It was like, if you don't have a computer, you stay on the line. If you do, why don't you just go ahead and go to the website? What? What are y'all doing?
You know why this bothers me? I mean, obviously it bothers you because you're a DC resident. It bothers me because during the pandemic, Mayor Bowser did many things that were great for the city.
Mm-hmm.
She did so many things well during this COVID pandemic. The one thing that could really encapsulate this time for you and just helping to get people, how does this not, how is this done so badly?
I just don't get it. I just don't get it. But, and, I don't want to, listen, I've kind of been vague about my thoughts on Mayor Bowser. I think in general, especially to your point, during the pandemic, she's done a good job. I think in general, her head is in the right place and her heart is in the right place. I don't view her as corrupt like we've had some, but I just and it's sad too, because we just talked about it last week. Her sister just died of COVID. And it's one of those things okay, you would think okay, what can I do to make this easier? And this is supposed to be the fix from the previous problems. And it's still the same problems. Now, look, people saying, okay, well, one person told me they're going to have a big thing at the convention center, and that's fine. But it's should not be this difficult to figure out. And as you said, I live in D.C., so it seems like I'm picking on them. This is not just a D.C. problem. It's not. It's not. Everyone that I've talked to everywhere is there are people getting it. But again, Sham, this goes back to American unexceptionalism. Why can't we put one foot in front of the other and just get things done efficiently? It's just, I'm not saying it should be seamless with no problems, but these are basic problems that are they not even thought of, or are they not even discussed? What are y'all talking about? It's too serious for all that. But anyway, so that's the soapbox. You got anything else for news?
I don't get it.
That's all political and world news I got to take before I bust a vein in my head. Then we can't talk about some of the fun entertainment stuff we got going on.
Well, I would still be talking while you take care of your vein, but
call 911 if that happens. Yeah, call the police. We are looking at each other, guys.
All right. What's been on TV this week? What you got?
Sam, listen, I didn't even I mentioned it, but we didn't talk about it. So a special, TNT is doing a special behind the scenes on the Inside the NBA crew. Apparently this is their 30-year anniversary.
Nice. So I will definitely be tuning into that.
This caught me by surprise. I was flipping between the Wizards and then whatever actual good game was on TNT the other night, and then they advertised it for the next day. So I watched this last night, Thursday night, Thursday the 4th. And it's kind of, I believe it's a multi-part special. So because it said part one, but again, no specific spoilers. I can just tell you, it looks like they're going to maybe take a Last Dance approach where they give you, it's not just a straight line chronological thing. They bounce back and forth between times and they'll, so yesterday, I think what they did was they did set the stage and start at the beginning and talk about how the show started. It wasn't even with Ernie. It was, they went all the way back to basically TNT starting period. And they showed the anchors and all that stuff. And then they show when he came in. Mm-hmm. Now, again, no spoilers. I'll just say this part because this is not a spoiler because you'll agree. All it did was reinforce to me, and they didn't even mean to do this, but they do not need Shaq at all.
They never needed him. I don't know
why they never needed him.
I don't know why they felt like they had to bring him in. It was
and there's specific parts of it where you're like, wow, did y'all really mean for it to come across like this? Because someone like me will walk away like, why do y'all still have him on the show?
And they tried other people before him.
Yes.
Which is what I don't understand. I remember they tried Chris Webber. They had, I forgot who they had before Chris Webber, but it's like they were forcing this fourth person on the show. Like they just, for whatever reason, they needed to have a fourth person. And I never understood why they were doing that.
but yeah, so it was very good. It was Ernie heavy. So again, I think it's the Last Dance approach where, I think Ernie Johnson will be the centerpiece, and they'll kind of loop everybody else in. But it was very good. It was very good. And I know you like that show. We like that show. They brought in guests and all that kind of stuff. So
outside of PTI, it's the best sports show on television. Like that's the two. Everything else is just not even up there. So
and PTI and Wilbon and Kornheiser will say them, and then they probably say those two. So yeah,
and they got a lot
awesome.
of Emmys in between them. So
absolutely,
well deserved
indeed. So there was that, and then Sham, I again listened to a past show a long time ago, and I asked you if you watched Fyre Fest yet, and you hadn't at that time. So before I jump into this one, have you watched Fyre Fest of any sort between Netflix or Hulu?
No.
Sham, you'll enjoy it.
I forgot.
You really will.
I forgot.
You really will. I mean, yeah, there's no reason for it to come to your mind, I guess, like out the blue. 2020 now has this new, I guess, type of show, and maybe it's not new, you more network, where it's called The Con. So they focus on huge con men.
Oh, great.
Okay.
So they just go rile people up again all over again. People done consolidated their feelings about this Fyre Fest, and 2020 just gonna get people all upset again.
So each episode of The Con is about a different type of con. So they decided to start off with a bang. It started about Fyre Fest. Now Whoopi Goldberg is doing the voiceover, so you don't see her face, but she does the voiceover. And they interview the white guy Billy McFarland from prison. He's in prison right now. He won't be released. He got a 5-year sentence, so he won't be released for a while. And he started out with a statement, saying how sorry he was, but he didn't really cop to it. But over the course of the program, it was an hour. It basically was a retelling of Fyre Fest. Like it was, so I watched that this week too. And I love anything Fyre Fest. Yeah, they can make a million specials about Fyre Fest and I'll watch all of them. Like I said, you haven't seen it yet? Even one. This is not like Tiger King, where Tiger King, I could tell you, based on your opinion of it beforehand, I don't think you would watch it and enjoy it. You haven't expressed any disdain for Fyre Fest, so I'm just going to go ahead and vouch for it. You watch the one on Netflix especially, and you will come away from it. The only sad part is it is sad what happened with the locals there and how they got screwed over by the con. So, I mean, that's pretty obvious, but every other part besides that, I don't feel bad for any of those people who paid for Fyre Fest, because it's like, yeah, you're a victim, but I mean, whatever, man. Like, do your research. But yeah, so those are two things I'm watching. Big things I'm watching this week besides what we're talking about. What about you? Anything new?
No, I haven't watched anything new this week. So Superman and Lois got renewed for another season. Already?
Just off the pilot?
Off the pilot. I told you the pilot was good.
You said it was good. I haven't caught it yet.
Watched the second episode this week. It was equally great. We getting under, getting some more layers.
Good.
And interestingly, as I was, reading some comments about the show. And so apparently, so the CW, before they started, put the DC universe on HBO Max, I guess they had a certain set of folks that were doing things. Mm-hmm. So the second season of Batman, Stargirl, and Superman and Lois is being produced and shot and stuff by a group of HBO Max folks, apparently. Okay. Which is why it's so different. Like as far as like cinematography and writing and all that kind of stuff. Is it an
upgrade?
It's an upgrade, apparently. Okay. So I still haven't watched the second season of Batwoman. Okay. But people have said that it is like night and day because of that upgrade with the HBO Max folks stepping in, and it's 10 times better than the first season. Like, people are loving this Batwoman.
Yeah, I mean, I've been raving about it, right?
Miles ahead of the last one, so I gotta finish.
Of course, I didn't really have anything to measure it against, but
right,
because I haven't really been into the first. Now, I will say this about that. Yeah, to your point, you kind of got on my case about Cobra Kai. Cobra Kai is like 40 minutes long. If you think about it, Sham, that woman is about that long too. When you take out the commercials, which you do. So yeah, just blaze through it. Like you told me about Cobra Kai, right? Just blaze through the first season so you can get to the second season.
Cobra Kai is like half hour. It's not that the season finale was like an hour and a half, but most of them are half hour.
First of all, yeah, that fight in season 2 was like, is this fight going to end or what? And where the police and where the like whatever.
It was a lot. There was a
lot going on.
It was too much.
By the way, I am finished season 3.
Yeah, but other than that, still watching Young Rock. Keenan is still not funny.
Gosh, that's so sad.
I know he need a laugh track. He really does.
So, by the way, he was in the they interviewed him for the TNT special. I thought about you. I was like, man, how's that show going? He looks stressed. Look, they probably taped that a while ago, but still, I just aside stressed to him like the show's not going well.
Yeah, I watched the Golden Globes last Sunday.
Tell me about that. I heard some scuttle that people either weren't happy about some of the awards or maybe not the production. How'd you like it?
I thought it was fine.
Okay.
They did so they had Tina Fey and Amy Poehler co-host the awards, but they were in different places. I think one was in New York and one was in LA. So they did like a split screen of them like standing next to each other, which actually was very creative.
Okay.
The audience was first responders, like healthcare workers,
that's cool.
Firemen, police, all that. They were all masked up, socially distanced and everything. So the nominees were on Zoom. However, they were via computer.
Mm-hmm.
And the Daniel Kaluuya won for Best Supporting Actor for Judas and the Messiah.
Yeah.
And
he's been on a tear lately.
He won the first award of the night, and they kind of botched the technical difficulties kind of botched up his acceptance speech or whatever.
Maybe that's what I'm thinking of. Yeah,
he had to do a redo.
Okay.
So that was cool. Chadwick Boseman won an award for Ma Rainey's, I can't remember the title, but the Ma Rainey movie. Mm-hmm. His wife accepted. And when I tell you, it was like, oh my God. Like, I don't even know how I didn't cry, because I cried about everything.
Yes, you do.
But she cried. And they gave her the time. They ain't play the music or nothing. They gave her the time to do what she needed to do. So that was cool. There were a lot of Black actors that got recognized, which was great.
That is great.
Jason Sudeikis, though, showed up in a hoodie. Like, everybody else was dressed up, and he was there in a hoodie. Like, I was like,
I'm not gonna say I like that move, but I do like Sudeikis. Yeah, he's funny.
Tina, I think it was Tina Fey that was like, for all of you asking about Jason Sudeikis' hoodie, you can get it now on goldenglobes.com.
Yeah, I like Tina Fey.
Yeah, she's great. But overall, I thought it was okay.
That's what's up. Tina Fey helped save the Republic when she was mocking Sarah Palin. That was a big turning point in that election in 2008 when she was on Saturday Night Live.
So Sasha Baron Cohen, he had won 2 awards, maybe 3, but he racked up. And so he makes a comment about Rudy Giuliani.
I heard. I didn't hear what the comment was. Can you read it? Because somebody said he mocked them.
Yeah, he did. He was like, never in a million years that I think I would play in a movie with the great and talented Rudy Giuliani, who went on to do things like have a press conference at the Four Seasons construction site. And then he just went on a string of like bad things that he had done.
Yeah, laundry list. Yeah,
it was well done.
Did you ever see the Borat sequel?
I've not seen any of the Borat movies.
Oh, okay. I mean, the first one, I saw both of them, but the Giuliani scene is everything you think it is. Like everything that people make it out to be is that ridiculous. Absolutely. So it makes it that more funny. It makes it that funny that he did that.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
That's what's up.
But yeah, I think considering the circumstances, I think if you're going to do an award show, that's a good model to follow, except for the technical difficulties with Daniel Kaluuya.
I mean, it happens. With Kaluuya, real quick, again, he's been on, like, look, the movie is militant. It's a militant movie. He's been on a militant tear. He's not having.
Yeah. But I guess, a lot of people were like, well, why didn't Lakeith Stanfield win? Blah, 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 blah. The movie was about him uncovering the murder and blah, blah, blah. Because obviously he didn't resonate that much with the voters. Hello.
I mean, okay.
How much Lakeith Stanfield resonates with a lot of people, because
you have a very tolerant, or at least some of the takes I've heard you give about the voting and the politics and about like these award shows. You have a kind of or at least from what I've heard, it's like, the system. These actors should know the system, so they shouldn't like be surprised or beef that hard about it. Would that be an accurate depiction of how you feel about this? In terms of like when people are outraged about how people don't win and stuff like that? Like you got to work the system?
No.
Then how do you feel about it?
I'm very indifferent about it, to be honest. I don't guess I really thought about
okay, well then indifference. All right, I guess all right, then I'll put it this way. Outrage is a strong feeling, but I get tilted when I feel like people get cheated because of, I guess, like if I feel somebody should have won for something, I need it to be explained why they didn't. Because we're talking about like these voters, like what is the process? Like there's no transparency, whether we're talking about the Grammys, the Golden Globes, none of that. And I feel like there should be on some level. Matter of fact, you and I we were talking about politics and secret ballot.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to see how the Academy votes.
I wonder if it's like the Grammys, how they have the people in the committee and they just mail it in.
Either way, I want it public.
Yeah.
I want it public.
But in fairness, though, Lakeith Stanfield wasn't even nominated. So sure. I guess that was, the main thing was like a lot of people reacting like, how come Daniel Kaluuya won and then Lakeith Stanfield didn't? Well, first, Lakeith Stanfield wasn't even nominated for Best Actor. And the person who won Best Actor was also a Black person. It was Chadwick Boseman.
And I'm not necessarily talking about racism, but I mean, I'm glad you brought that up. But I just want the process more transparent. I guess where I'm at. I mean, art is subjective anyway. So the point being, all the more reasons to be transparent, because it's like art is subjective. There's no right or wrong answer. So I just want to know what these people's biases and prejudices are.
Yeah.
And I think, so yeah, I guess I've talked myself into it. I guess I am a little ham about it. If I care about the award, I guess is the point. But yeah, it's subjective. So yeah.
I guess it's just based on what each actor submits. Like they submit a clip of what they've done or whatever, and then you look at it and you compare it to the other people. I don't really know. I just think
that's the way it should work. I think that politics involved too. And a lot of these voters are like sheep. Award season is very funny because once a movie or actor or whatever gets a full head of steam, then everyone's like, oh, I guess that was good. I'll change my vote for them. But
the other thing about the Golden Globes too is that whoever wins the Golden Globe wins the Oscar, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you're looking at Daniel Kaluuya possibly getting an Oscar for his performance. You're looking at Chadwick Boseman possibly getting an Oscar for his. Yeah. Andra Day, who I saw a story on her on the Sunday Today show.
Mm-hmm.
She did a sit down And she was talking about, because this is her first acting role. And actually, she went into it, and the person, I think it was Lee Daniels, was like, no, I don't want her. You know, she literally was not the person that he wanted to play Billie Holiday. And she ended up like winning him over. And she ends up winning Best Actress for an motion picture at the Golden Globes.
I haven't seen that. I heard it's very good.
I heard it was phenomenal. And this is against Viola Davis, who a lot of people probably thought was going to win it based on her performance in Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. But and that was probably my favorite moment of the Golden Globes, because she literally looked surprised. Like, this is your first movie role. You've never really been acting, and you win this huge award. So you're looking at the SAG Awards coming up, and generally what happens is the person wins that, and then they win the Oscar, and this could be a huge year for her. And for folks who don't know who Andra Day is, if you've ever heard that song Rise Up, I've heard it a million times.
Mm-hmm. They play it on commercials a lot.
Oh my gosh. Now a commercial now, somebody else is singing it. It's not her version anymore. Right. But yeah, she is a vocalist, and this is amazing for her.
It's awesome. I respect the SAGs a lot, because that's the actors vote.
Yes, they vote.
Yeah,
exactly.
See, that's the thing. That's your peers voting. So, and they always
Gabrielle Carteris is the president of that. Andrea from 90210.
Mm-hmm. And been the president for a minute.
For a minute. Yeah.
That's a fun fact I did know. Yeah. I was like, look at Andrea. She was all responsible on the show, so they just kind of put that on there. Yeah, whatever.
It fit, right?
It fit. Nah, that's good though. That's good. I'm glad you gave us the Golden Globes report. Yeah, Sham, listen, it's award season. We depend on you and on the Stop Playing podcast for a full report. Report.
Yeah.
Listen, this is more of a mention, but what are you doing on March the 17th?
Probably finding a drink because it's St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah. Well, with or without that drink, I'll be watching Netflix, because they're going to put Operation Varsity Blues. The movie about Aunt Becky and the college scandal will be premiering on Netflix.
Interestingly, you mentioned the Fire Festival and the Tiger King earlier. Mm-hmm. The same people who did those two,
thank you,
are doing this.
And when I saw that, I was like, first of all, you had me at hello when you said we're making the movie. So I was talking to my friends, and a couple of them didn't know. See, you and I in the Stop Playing podcast family have been so deep in the Aunt Becky story that I knew that it was called Operation Varsity Blues.
Red carpet courtroom.
Exactly. A lot of people didn't know it was called Operation Varsity Blues. So I was like, yo, I'm watching Operation Varsity Blues. They were like, they're making another Varsity Blues show?
I thought the same thing, because I was scrolling through Netflix earlier today and I saw that. I was like, who would do this again?
Yeah. They're like, no. I was like, no, fam, this is about Aunt Becky. I was like, that's the name of the operation for real. They were like, somebody at the FBI was having too much fun. I was like, yeah, that was the name of the operation for real. They came out of the press conference like, this is Operation Varsity Blues. Had a whole board behind them and all that. And so, apparently Olivia Jade is not happy with her portrayal. I don't know if she I know what it was. She didn't cooperate with them because they went around, did interviews and stuff. And I mean, that young lady has no soul anyway. Both
I was about to say,
her dad is in prison.
Her would be better than her real life. So.
Yes, her dad is in prison right now. Her mom just got out of prison, and she completely, just distanced herself. But I can't wait to see this movie. Period. I'll be sitting there watching. I'll be sitting there, like, don't call me, don't text me, don't do anything. I'm watching it. Everything. Every time they have an American Greed on there, I watch that thing like I'm watching it for the first time. I learn something new every time. It's like reading my favorite book. So that'll be on Netflix on the 17th. Now, Sham, we got some comic book stuff before, or in general, DC and Marvel. The DC one, you've talked about Superman. I'm so happy that the Superman show is taking off. It looks like they're going in a good direction. Of course, DC television, we already know they get it figured out. What this really is about, we mentioned it last week that Ta-Nehisi Coates is working on, an alternate universe Superman. Maybe it'll be Michael B. Jordan, maybe not. But Calvin,
Ellis.
Calvin Ellis, thank you. Black Superman. So on the heels of that, a Google card came in to me this week, and then I realized I haven't really talked about this. Ray Fisher, the guy who plays Cyborg in the Justice League, he has been going ham for literally like 3 years about racism and Joss Whedon, who took over the Justice League project after Zack Snyder. I actually never understood. Zack Snyder left that project because his daughter committed suicide.
Dang.
I knew it was a family problem, and I knew it was like some kind of issue or personal problem, but that's why he stopped directing that movie. And it was more than halfway done. It was basically almost all the way done. He stopped directing the movie to attend to his family. Warner Brothers has Joss Whedon from Buffy fame, who I like, Buffy, Angel and all that. He came in, he directed it.
He also is from Marvel, and he had a clash with Kevin Feige, and that's why he's no longer at Marvel.
I didn't know that. That's an excellent addition to the story, because apparently Joss Whedon is a huge problem.
Yeah, period. He's a problem.
He's a problem. And Ray Fisher has been singing and shouting from the rooftops for years about the racism that he, as Cyborg, a black character who is very big in DC, experienced. And look, Joss Whedon already, a lot of people, this is why the Justice League Zack Snyder cut is such a big deal on Warner Brothers, and that'll be out in 2 weeks as well, because a lot of people feel like Joss Whedon came in there and like completely butchered the movie. Now, from Ray Fisher's standpoint, one of those butcherings is that he actively on set, butchering is not a word, guys. He actively on set cut out a lot of Ray Fisher's like scenes, and even if he didn't overtly said it, basically set the tone like, we don't need all the, like, Cyborg's a black character, we don't need all this stuff in the movie and this and that. And just blatantly accuse him of racism. Joss Whedon is also in trouble from Charisma Carpenter for like Me Too stuff when she was on Buffy. So that came out this week too. But the reason I bring up Ray Fisher is because the whole thing about a black Superman, he was like, this is Warner Brothers' like fake attempt to cover up all the racism that they allowed to take place when, I was on Justice League, and they don't want black characters in here. They cut out my character. They cut out his father's character was who's the father on Scandal? What's his name?
Oh, Joe Morton.
Joe Morton, right. Yeah, I know him as the guy Whitley was going to marry when Dwayne stepped in there.
Mm-hmm.
But
baby, please.
Baby, please. But Eli Pope, right? Is that his name on Scandal?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He had scenes in there. They cut him out. So anyway, the long and short of it is that Ray Fisher's leveling serious accusations against Warner Brothers, against Joss Whedon, and he's like, yeah, right. Black Superman, that's not going to cut it. This is them trying to, for lack of a better word, not whitewash, but, blackwash this situation. Kind of like how we were talking about Anthony Mackie, how he was like, yeah, so what, I'm Captain America. It's racism all around here. Like, stop. This is even worse version of that. So with Justice League coming out in a couple weeks, so hopefully maybe his role will be expanded upon in that, because it's basically like a couple episodes. It's like a 4-part series or whatever. We'll see what Joss Whedon cut out, but it's a big story. It's a big story.
First of all, you have sold yourself mighty short, because butchering is indeed a word.
Is it?
Yes.
Okay. All right. My brain works better than the mouth.
Yeah, you sold yourself really short. So in addition to Charisma Carpenter, like, it's a ton of people.
Jason you got a laundry list.
Gal Gadot, who, oh my God, looked fabulous on the Golden Globes. Michelle Trachtenberg, all these people who have dealt with him basically said that his behavior on set was crazy. But Warner Media, they took remedial action against him in December of 2020. So we don't know what that means. But
what does that mean?
That probably means that his time at the DC universe is probably going to be as short as it was at Marvel. But he did do the first 2 Avengers at Marvel before.
He directed those?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, the first 2 Avengers movies and the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. TV show.
Wow, again, which was successful.
Yeah, but again, like, I remember reading about this months ago about how he basically started to smell himself.
Yeah.
And try to go against the man. And you can't go against the man.
And look, I'm not going to hate. Like I said, I'll say it 100 times. I didn't really watch Buffy like when it was on. I caught the last couple. I watched Angel. Tell you that right now. Yeah. So, I mean, he's talented, but he's tripping. And if he's racist, then get out of here.
Yeah.
Yeah, but now we got a finale.
Yeah, speaking of Marvel.
Yeah.
So the WandaVision series finale happened today.
Yeah.
And it has basically, this season of WandaVision has basically been a bridge to the next Doctor Strange movie. So this season, it was always just going to be this one season because somebody said it best. This was a Wanda Maximoff movie that was broken down into 9 episodes.
Huh. That's an interesting way to put it. And I like that description already.
So we get to the finale, which aired today, as I said, and we start to uncover, or they start to show us how she becomes the Scarlet Witch. And she basically busts up her virtual reality and puts things back to normal. And they give us a little bit of, some insight into what's going to happen with Monica Rambeau. She's going to be in Captain Marvel 2. And then you got some other characters. Jimmy, I think that's the FBI agent's name, Jimmy Wong. He's going to be in the next Ant-Man and the Wasp. And then you have Darcy, who's going to be in the next Thor, Love and Thunder, which I can't wait for. And so it just basically shows how she had to kind of look within herself and see. And Agatha helped her do that, of course, pretty much forced her to do it. Just kind of see where she went wrong in this whole thing and to kind of repair everything. And the whole family that she dreamed up had to basically go away so she can go and focus on her role in the now multiverse.
So I'm going to approach this from, again, with Marvel. I followed everything. I loved it. I thought it was very well done in terms of the whole Marvel universe. And this is no exception. I think I'm just going to approach it from an objective standpoint. I love the approach they had with this. They tried something different where they really wanted the audience to trust the process, for lack of a better word. And
Brian Colangelo.
I know, right? And Sam Hinkie, and say, okay, we're doing something different. You guys, hopefully we've earned your trust with trillions of dollars of investment in Avengers up to this point of billions. Do this sitcom thing. People don't understand what's going on at the beginning of the season. But then, you drop these breadcrumbs and just stick with it. And then they didn't wait too long for that, which was a smart decision. DC would have made you go through 6 episodes and people would have left and then all that. And then at the end, this was, again, as a casual viewer, just watching it and following the thread and not knowing anything else. I know it, but not remembering, I should say, most of the other stuff about before and after in the Marvel universe and taking it as a standalone story. This was very emotional. it was a very emotional finale, and they've been building to it, so it wasn't unexpected. Her relationship with Vision, I think they rounded out Vision very well as a character in this.
And they introduced White Vision.
Yeah. And even in the little small interactions they had, the dialogue was good. The family dynamic was good. I like when a show says, okay, we have, to your point, we have a very finite mission. We're not trying to save the world here. We just want to give you something good, but give you something meaningful and thoughtful. I thought it was very thoughtful. I thought the dialogue was good. The production was good. They gave you a lot of actions. It felt like a finale. I like when a finale feels like a finale. Mm-hmm. And they're like, look, we've been building up to this. We're going to give you some action, but then we're going to give you some. So I really think that independent of Marvel, independent of the universe, if you say, all right, we're just going to make a show. Yes, it's going to be part of something bigger. There'll be Easter eggs and context and all that stuff, but we want to try a different concept, bring people into it, and then give them a payoff. I think they did a good job of that. I really do. I think this is a template that other shows can use to say, okay, we could take characters that maybe people care about, don't, whatever, and maybe they have their different motivations for watching the show. But if we want to try something new and we really put thought into it and pace it well, people will enjoy it and take it for what it is. I'm not big into Marvel, but I enjoyed the ride. I enjoyed watching it, and I thought it had a good payoff. And if I don't watch where it takes me from Marvel, that's fine. I just liked it. I like the acting, like the dialogue. I still can't get over that Scarlet Witch is Mary-Kate and Ashley's younger sister, man. She's just that's good. But yeah, I liked it. I really did.
A couple things that were kind of a letdown was that they did the X-Men crossover with Evan Peters as Quicksilver. And then they revealed that he wasn't even actually Pietro. He was just some kid down the street or whatever.
Yeah. So,
and then the other thing was that Doctor Strange didn't show up in the finale or in the end credits. You did get in the post-credit scene. Mm-hmm. You did, or the mid-credit scene. Or was it the post?
It was the post.
Yep. It was a post-credit scene. You did kind of see where their link will happen.
Correct.
But what I read was that he was supposed to make an appearance in it. Mm-hmm. And then because of the COVID, changing the timing of the film, it was a scheduling conflict with him not appearing. But that, to me, that probably would have been, if I needed to add anything. And I kind of agree with a commenter in my TV Time app who said, they did a pretty good build up. And then, like a lot of shows do, they build up, and then they feel like they have to throw a bunch of stuff in at the end just so they're not missing anything.
Yep.
I feel like they kind of did that as well. Cram. Yeah, they did a cram. But otherwise, it was an excellent series. I think it was great. And it makes me now even look forward to seeing the next Doctor Strange, because I didn't particularly care for the first Doctor Strange. I didn't like him until he was a part of the Avengers. Like in the Infinity War, I thought he was great. And then, of course, in Endgame, he came and pretty much saved everybody. But in his individual movie, I didn't really have, that's the one Marvel movie that I probably have only seen twice. The rest of them I can watch pretty much over and over. But that one, wow. But not so much. But now that I'm saying that, now I'm like, okay, I can't wait for the next Doctor Strange movie. I want to see how this plays out.
I'm glad you brought up the X-Men. Again, this is me relaying a message to you and then giving your thoughts. Mutual friend of ours, Craig, he said that when we were watching it, he said maybe with the X-Men tie-in stuff, that timing-wise, because they've been trying to, they being the studios, have been trying to reconcile all the legal issues about rights and stuff. Mm-hmm. That because he made the same observation. He said, man, it'd been great to see more of the X-Men stuff. He was like, but I guess they probably timing-wise hadn't completely unwound the X-Men from, even though Fox and Disney completely unwound that storyline yet, where they could just put it in. And he thinks that that's really, it's a pragmatic thing, like an external thing, that they couldn't do it. Well, so it was like they wanted to.
They've kind of opened the door for a Magneto appearance.
Yeah.
And she's now the Scarlet Witch, and she's got the crown, the headpiece, and it's got the M on it. And so, you know, they've opened the door for that. And for the two kids. Now, the twins, right? Mm-hmm. And part of the story was because the story, the life she created was fake. Then that means the children and Vision all had to go. But in the post-credit scene, you can hear their voices saying, Mom, save us, or come get us. Something like that they're saying. Mm-hmm. And I know in the comics that they actually become like, you know, characters or whatever. So they're not gone. But what was crazy to me was how the sword agent was like standing out there, like firing shots at the kids. I was like, your man's brought a gun.
He was wilding.
He was like literally about to kill two kids. Like, what are you doing?
I was like, okay, there's a cover up and then there's like murder. Right. Like, you're already going to jail. I liked what's her name?
Monica Rambeau?
No, well, I do. But
Darcy.
Darcy.
When she came and ran over him with the truck.
Like, have fun in jail. That was funny. It was just like, I like stuff like that.
And then at the end, when they wanted to debrief her, she was like, debriefing.
Yeah, forget it. Yeah. But Monica Rambeau, love my Black queens, Sham.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But overall, it was a good series, and I'm looking forward to what's coming next.
Oh my.
Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
Excited.
Anthony Mackie.
Yes, we like him on this show.
Yeah, represent, man. We're gonna get Reese back on and make him eat his words, right?
Right, because it's not gonna go that way. I already know which way the story going. So, so you ready to get into some sports?
Always. Got some. Listen, some shoes dropped this week. We've been anticipating, you know, when JJ Watt went on the open market, Houston released him. You said it, and we both thought he'll be picked up. Arizona, curious choice, huh?
I mean, it's warm there.
I mean, is this the Terrell? No, Terrell Suggs is like, I was from there or whatever. But guys can't just vacation in Arizona and still act like they want to play. No, all right, look.
Edgerrin James went there.
The Cardinals are actually decent. So
yeah, they are. They're literally like a couple players away.
Exactly. So JJ Watt may feel like he's one of those players.
Mm-hmm. And it's warm there.
You know, I'm not as hard on him I mean, not because of the warmth, but I'm not as hard on him as a lot of people have been about this. We talked about he's 32, but for a D lineman who's taking as much punishment and with his injury history, he might as well be 40. In my opinion, or maybe that's extreme, but like 35.
Like he's been there forever, though. I just feel like he's been in the league so long, and
he gets hurt a lot, and he takes a lot of punishment in that position. He's very physical. So, I guess the point being, if you can get with a decent team, in a good division, see, that's the thing, though. That's good and that's bad. They could be good and still not make playoffs because now I don't know how good Seattle's going to be based on another story, but San Fran should bounce back or not bounce. They should be okay. They should be good. So now Seattle, we don't know how that's going to be leading into them. Russell Wilson, hey, he's still out there. People are talking less about the Raiders now. Mike Mayock actually came out this week and gave, I don't know what you want to call it. He said he and John Gruden stand shoulder to shoulder was the report. Those are the exact words next to Derek Carr. But
they saving money for Richard Sherman.
Yeah, you keep saying this Richard Sherman thing. I need you to stop saying that because it's going to speak it into existence. And I'm not trying to pay Richard Sherman per diem to play safety. But look, Dallas to me at minimum seems somewhat likely only because that situation with Dak is not going to work out well.
They don't want to pay him.
They don't want to pay him. And if they're going to keep him, they have to pay him. And Jerry Jones, out of his own mouth, I said on this podcast, we said it, after they lost to Dallas was like, or after they lost to Seattle 1 week was like, the difference between Russell Wilson and Dak Prescott is why we lost this game. So when you say something like that, that means he said it on the radio show. So when you say something like that,
I love that quote.
It's like, look, what are you talking about? So you have the opportunity to get Russell Wilson at this point. You're gonna get him. You're not gonna pay the guy that you blame the loss on. Like whatever.
They talking about trading Dak and Zeke.
I mean,
for Russell Wilson.
Oh, they're mad at Zeke. They're mad at Zeke. They were like, "Yo, every time we gave you the ball, you put it on the ground, and we paid we paid you $1 billion.
Yeah, get out of here.
Get out of here." I mean, Zeke should be ashamed of himself for all the fumbles last year.
It was pretty bad.
It was pretty bad. After holding out for Buddy.
Right. They said, we ain't gonna make this mistake again.
Yeah, never. Get out. So like there's that, and then staying in the NFC East. Look, Shane, why you glad your Eagles are out the news? Like y'all were in the news for a minute. Y'all were like,
we need a break.
Yeah, y'all need a break. So the other teams stepped up. So it's our turn. So Washington, they cut Alex Smith. Now, I'm half and half on this. I understand why they did it. He was a huge cap number. That being said, the kind of momentum leading up to, so I believe he was, if they kept him, he'd have been like 32 against the cap. By releasing him, he was somewhere in the teens. So they had to let him go in that sense, because he's not the future of that team. That being said, there's what you do and how you do it. Leading up to it, he was already kind of starting to go public about how unappreciated he felt. And for him to do that, Alex Smith isn't really a vocal person. So he must have really felt that way.
Well, he was appreciated by the NFL. He won Comeback Player of the Year.
Exactly. And, and even talking to some of my Washington football team friends, they were like, I mean, they kind of like irritated that not irritated, but they were just kind of indifferent, but negatively indifferent that he made those comments. Like, yeah, whatever, screw him.
I mean, any other team would have cut him.
Right, but at the same time, any other team also wouldn't have needed him as bad because they wouldn't have been a dumpster fire. Like any other team wouldn't have drafted their quarterback, their number 2 quarterback, and then benched him because they don't know how to, actually grow a player.
I mean, I guess those things are relevant, but not on him. But
well, it pertains to him because he had to step in, and he's the only reason they made. Not the only, but he is a large reason why they made the playoffs with their horrible record. Now, the bigger reason is how horrible the rest of the division was. But the point being, their record under him, whether you like his performance or not, whether a person likes his performance or not, he brings stability. He brings stability to the team. Now, that doesn't mean they should keep him. My point is, he felt disrespected in the process, and not just about being let go, but just the way they were handling it. And given the history of their organization, I side with him on that. So,
well, he had a sit down with Ron Rivera, and they had a conversation about it. So it ain't like he found out on the internet.
No, he's not saying that, but I think he was talking about his treatment even up to that point.
Oh, well, they were 5-1 last season when he started.
Absolutely.
He probably brought into the conversation as well. But
yeah,
I mean, look, is the Washington football team is their future gonna ride? Would their future have ridden on Alex Smith's back? No. So, I mean, business wise, it's actually they kept him longer than they should have. I understand, the whole Dwayne Haskins thing and Kyle Allen thing and all that happening, but if those two things don't happen, he was still on the roster. So it was just kind of like he was on the roster longer than he should have been, in my opinion, anyway.
Well, so that's what I take a little bit of issue with, not specifically with you, but that is the opinion that's being expressed by a lot of people. And my counter to that is they didn't do it out of altruism. They did it because they didn't plan well at that position, period. Because they could have given him an injury settlement or whatever, bought him out. His contract was huge, so they still would have to take a cap hit regardless, but they could have worked that out and then let him go about his business. But they didn't do that. And when they didn't do that initially, I knew at the time, because they have no faith in where they're at quarterback. None. And so this is a problem of their own making. And then he comes back in because he wants to play football, period, and helps them. Again, not altruistic on his part either, but he performs well. He helps them. So it's one of those things like, I don't take the position they kept him longer than they should have. I take the position as they didn't plan well, so they had to keep him, and then he performed. So,
well, they extended Taylor Heineke, so
yeah. Hey, let's see what Heineken could do. I know. A lot of people call him Heineken. That's why I call him Heineken. Yeah, I know his name is Heineke.
It's one letter short.
Yeah, exactly. And look, half the casuals in DC are like, man, put Heineken 6-pack in there. Let's go.
It's fucking terrible.
It is terrible, but yeah. Hey, they do it though too, and you know it. You probably know so because I know I do. Yeah, put the beer in there. Let's go.
Really?
So what we got? So we got All-Star Weekend coming up, Sharon.
That's this weekend.
Yeah.
And it's all going to be on Sunday.
Yeah, I was about to say, normally there would be the rookie versus, was it? Not sophomore.
Yeah, the Rising Stars game would be tonight, along with the celebrity game.
Yeah.
Do they still do the old head game? I know that's not what it's called, but the Legends game.
Yeah,
I think they do that. I think they kind of killed that and mixed in the Legends with the Saturday night stuff.
Yeah, I think it depends on the Legends' willingness to participate.
I literally just said the old head game.
So look, they try to, and it's stuff like that makes it. If they feel curmudgeonly, that it's like, all right, we're not gonna do it. Yeah, they take the temperature. Like, I feel like playing. All right, okay, all right, sorry, Legends. No, but there was something you said earlier. I think you were talking about the Golden Globes, where you were talking about firefighters and those people just being the participants. So I saw Adam Silver. I always have to say his first name correctly. Exactly. So I saw him on CNN earlier today, and Wolf Blitzer was asking him to justify why he was having an All-Star game and what he was doing to keep players safe. And long and short of it, because we talked about Keisha Lance Bottoms and how, a lot of people are opposed to the NBA having an All-Star game this year. He went into that, it's technically going to be a bubble. They are keeping people safe, and that as far as the public goes, what made me think of when you said the firefighters, everything is being, the theme of this weekend is about HBCUs. And they're devoting that. And so the only people that will even be present for the events will be people who, whether it be alumni or either, administration, people who are affiliated with the HBCUs to honor them.
Well, they got enough of them in Atlanta.
And Adam Silver, like, you could tell, man, he was like, in the HBCUs, we're in Atlanta right now. So all the people at Clark and Morehouse and Spelman, and he was like really making it a point to make you understand that he understood all the HBCUs that are down there. So they will be the only participants that we see at the All-Star game.
Poor Morris Brown. They don't get no love.
Yeah. Your Hampton people will be down there, though. In general. I mean, they said they're inviting people from all the HBCUs.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. What'd you do with your ticket?
Oh, the one that I didn't get.
Yeah, I was about to say. Yeah, family. She said she won't. Like, she's passed it up. Would you have gone if you got one?
I pass up super spreader events.
Would you? Oh, I'm about to say. I mean, they making it sound like they would have only a few people in there.
Man, ain't no way I would have gone to that.
All right. Cool.
But I do like that, and I hope this sets a precedent, to be honest. And I don't always love precedents, but I hope this one does, because they're doing everything at 5:00 on Sunday. They're doing all like the 3-point shootout, the slam dunk, and whatever other activity they're throwing in there. They're doing it at 5:00, and then they got the game at 8. Just do that. We don't need a whole weekend like before.
I was about to say, what do you mean by precedent? You don't want to have a weekend?
I mean, the only other thing that I personally watch, I guess, maybe not. Maybe I'll walk that back. I think I like the idea of it all happening in one day just for my own convenience. But I think because, we're missing the Rising Stars game, and I think that that's something that they should do. And I also do like to watch the celebrity game. But
see, ironically, I was going to go the other way. Scrap that game, scrap the celebrity game. Give me the dunk contest and 3-point contest on Saturday night, and the game on Sunday, and let's call it a day. I don't even need to see the rookies, but you and I, the fact that you mentioned those first, because I was going to go to the other way first. Like I don't need the Rising Stars game. And
I don't watch it. I was just saying for them. Like, I think it's good for them. Like, I don't watch it. I haven't watched it since it was the rookie game back in the day.
Yeah.
Once they didn't have enough rookies to do an entire game, I was like, okay, this is lame.
Well, there's that. And I definitely don't need the celebrity game. I mean, it's fun, but whatever. But the dunk contest and the 3-point contest, I do feel like those deserve their own night. If you put those two on Saturday night together, and then you could do the game on Sunday, I'll be with that. Because remember, even last year, the dunk contest, I mean, for better or for worse, went like, 2 hour and a half, same thing.
Wait, longer than they needed to. They need to do something about that.
I mean, if guys are yoking, they yoking, Shan.
Yeah, but we're not going back there. Somebody got robbed.
I mean, sure. Yeah, we're not going back there. Anyway, all right. Well, look, NBA story. This was a big one this week. So, okay, we talked about the inside the NBA earlier, and we mentioned Shaq. And Shaq has had, in my opinion, he's not needed on the show.
Never was.
Never was. We both agree. Now, we also have talked about recently on this show Shaq's overly aggressive attitude right now towards the modern NBA and the modern NBA player.
He's turned into a get off my lawn.
Correct. Now, full transparency, even in this, I agree with the sentiment of most of what Shaq has been saying.
Mm-hmm.
We both grew up watching the NBA, somewhat in the 80s, but more so in the 90s, where we really were cognizant, I believe. And then, seeing it change, late 2000s and then up to now. And I think we all kind of shared like, okay, what happened to that old NBA? But see, the intangibles are more so what I'm talking about. Like, yeah, Michael Jordan and Magic Johnson and Charles Barkley and all those people were friends, but on the court, they were bitter enemies. And they were friends in the sense of like, I could never like play with you because we have to compete. Mm-hmm. And they weren't buddy like AAU buddy, where let's hook up and all play together. Like, no.
It was one of those things where when you watched them, you could believe that they hated each other when you watched them play, but you didn't realize that they were actually friends until like later. Like you're like, wait, they're really friends.
I mean, ironically, it seemed like the closer they were off the court, the worse they were on the court. Exactly. Especially like Mike and Charles and all that. I think Magic was kind of the only one that, he didn't really, it didn't convey that because he had enough. But even like him and Bird, that kind of thing. It was a rivalry at minimum. The only one that he displayed any like affection for was Isaiah Thomas. Like they used to hug and kiss before the games when they played each other. And then they ended up having the worst relationship of all. Right. So again, it never translated. Either one was off or the other was off. So we say all that to say, Shaq lately, especially, we talked about his comments towards Donovan Mitchell, which I think everyone at the end of it was like, Shaq, no matter what, that was disrespectful, period. Donovan Mitchell did not deserve that. Him personally, he did not deserve that. So Shaq has been under more and more scrutiny. So then the other night, I believe this was Wednesday night. They were talking about it. No, it was Tuesday because that's when they have the
only players.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. And it's him, Candace Parker, Dwayne Wade, and is it Steve Smith? Maybe.
No, it's some Ernie-like guy.
Okay, and they were breaking down pick and rolls and all this kind of stuff. And Candace Parker starts talking, and then he's butting in, or maybe it's opposite. But Shaq is just really being obstinate about doing the pick and roll. And he's like, I don't understand why people don't just man up and just stay with their man. And kudos to Candace Parker. Being very patient. Wasn't getting smart with him and nothing like that. I mean, she was just like breaking it down like that's not how it works. There are too many 3-point shooters, you know.
With Dwayne Wade as an accomplice.
Now, Dwayne Wade kind of stepped in like, I mean, dude, what are you talking about? Like, right. You're going to have like 4 people.
You know, it was 2 against 1.
Yeah. I mean, if I'm Shaq, I'm talking Dwayne Wade like, man, you did not help me out there, like at all. Mm-hmm. But I mean, I think it was, you know, everyone picked up on it. It was on Twitter and it went viral, so to speak. And people were like, yo, Candace Parker really schooled Shaq. But she wasn't even really she was not trying to embarrass him or anything. He was embarrassing himself by being obstinate about it. I agree with his sentiment about, look, people need to man up on defense, period. Mm-hmm. Don't rely on a scheme to accomplish what you need to accomplish defensively. Mm-hmm. And I'll let you speak more to that. It's just his execution. He was just being obstinate.
Yeah, and I also think at a certain point he was kind of trolling her. Like he kept repeating the same thing over and over. Like, you know,
why not?
Right.
You know.
Whatever happened to manning up or pre-rotating? And she's like, oh, you can't pre-rotate. It's too many shooters. There's like 3 or 4 people that could shoot 3-pointers. Like, you have to switch. And then Dwayne Wade was like, yeah, you can't move that fast to cover, you know, if the ball is going to go. You can't move that fast. Right. You never move that fast. Right. And but he was like, yeah, but if you are manning out and calling out, you know, blah, blah, blah. Like you said, I see what he was trying to say. I think what I get from it is if you're on your man denying the ball straight up, you don't have to worry about whether or not they're going to get it. And I was telling you when I was playing basketball, that was my thing. Defense was my thing. Mm-hmm. I would guard girls. I'm only 5'2.5". I was guarding girls 5'7", 5'8", 5'9". One girl came on me, called out a mismatch because I was guarding her, but I was on her for a reason. I was quicker. And my coach knew that I was never going to let her get that ball. So if you are on this person denying the ball and making sure they don't get it, mm-hmm. that's what he was basically trying to say. And I understand that because I played, but mm-hmm. he was not trying to let go of that theory because he's from the old school. That's how you think that the game should be played. Right. All Candace Parker and Dwayne Wade were basically trying to say is that's not how they play anymore. Nobody's denying the ball and staying in somebody's face like that. Not in the NBA. That's just not happening. Like everybody's loose. Everybody's playing off the ball. Everybody's fast breaking 3-pointers. The fundamental aspects of defense in basketball, you're not going to find that in the NBA. You're just not.
I agree. And I think he got into his feelings too quickly. Yeah. And didn't allow himself the chance to think clearly, to relay the point clearly. Mm-hmm. You could tell quickly that he got to a place where he was like, I'm not going to get embarrassed out here. So if I have nowhere else to go, I'll just be obstinate.
Right. And then Candace Parker, being who she is, just every time he said something that made himself look ignorant, she countered with an even smarter answer. So it just made it worse. And she had receipts, as Black women always do.
Y'all come with them. Might as well staple them all together so you don't lose one.
Right. And honestly, I think it became a bigger story than it was because she's a woman and she was checking him.
That's true.
I think if this had been Kenny or Chuck, this wouldn't be a big story.
I agree. Well, I agree with the Kenny. Maybe Chuck just because of their history. Probably wouldn't be as big. It would be big for a different reason. I'll put it that way.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, you're right. Look, so it's interesting because it's a big story because it's the reverse of mansplaining.
Right.
It's, look at Candace Parker schooling Shaq when, so he could never mansplain to her. And it's like, well, you're making a big story. That's kind of Remember when Cam Newton a couple of years ago, when he was still in Carolina, and a female reporter asked him a question, and it was a good question. It was after a game, and he said he answered it, and I forget the context, but then he was like, "Oh wow, I never expected a question like that from a." I don't know if he said a girl, but I think he said a woman or something like that. Yeah,
female reporter.
Right.
Yeah.
And he was like, look at that, like answering a question.
She was asking about a scheme. She was asking about a route. She was
like I said, it was a good question. It was a good question. It was a complete legitimate question.
Yeah.
And it was like, and he was trying to big her up, but at the same time, by doing that, that was the insult.
Mm-hmm. I never had a woman ask me about routes.
Exactly.
Before. Yeah, something like that.
And I'm glad you said that. I'm glad you said what you said about how big the story was. By people bigging Candace Parker up like this, it was kind of an insult.
Yeah, because she should know this. People forget she's one of the best female basketball players to ever walk this earth.
Correct.
Like, this is basic shit. Like,
I mean, Sham, honestly, this makes me want to, like, next episode, all the more reason, watch this behind the NBA. I mean, you're going to do it. Not everyone could get up there and talk basketball, even if they played it or not. Mm-hmm. And Shaq is the jury is still out, and to me is in, but whatever. But like, not everyone can do that. She can do it, and not just because she played well, but she clearly understands the game. Mm-hmm. To me, honestly, Dwayne Wade, if they've been playing with Shaq, they've been playing with Draymond Green. When Chuck leaves, they can put Dwayne Wade up there, and I'm fine.
Mm-hmm. He went in there like seamlessly.
Exactly. Put him in there if we're gonna do that, But yeah, no. You make an excellent point. She's way more knowledgeable than sports media. You and I've talked about it. I would say only like 20% of people there are worth listening to, whether they played or not. Mm-hmm. It's that simple. And, especially you get people like Candace Parker in there. Like, yeah, somebody who knows the game and will sit there and take it seriously. She takes herself seriously when she's talking, which is half the battle. And she can have fun, but when it's time to do an analysis, she does it and it's like, oh, wow, that makes sense. Okay. I like her. Don't like him. It
speaks a lot to how much TNT and NBA TV actually respect her as a basketball personality. Because think about it. How many women were on that set in that capacity before her?
Mm-hmm. And
I'm going to say zero.
Yeah. I can't recall any. I mean, maybe, Cheryl Miller here or there, something like that. She
would be like on courtside, but like sitting there in that capacity on the panel?
Yeah, not consistently. No. Maybe a guest spot. You aren't. I'm trying. Yeah, no. Who's I'm going to try to think. White chick.
You talking about Nancy Lieberman?
No. I forget. They play Tarasi. Don't they have her on there sometime?
I've never seen her on there, but she could be. I mean, another one of the greatest basketball players.
I've seen her. But yeah, no, but yeah, Shaq, look. Shaq, again, I've been hard on the players, but for different reasons, not on the court stuff. But Shaq, it might be time for you to sit down with some of this stuff, like for real.
Or at least acquiesce. If not, I'm going to call Dame. Yeah. I'm going to get Dame on you.
Diss track number 4.
Dame Dollars.
Volume 4. The EP. The Shaq Diss EP. Volume 4. Dame would do it too.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely do it. Yeah.
Ooh, isn't just I love sports, it's a lifestyle.
Yeah. I love those commercials, man. I don't think this rhymes. Shoot the guns with the money in there. Love it. Yeah. What else? Anything else?
So there was another story that just kind of crept up while we were talking, and we talked about this very early on in the show, and I know you brought it up to me within recent weeks, and we decided not to talk about it. But so in Georgia, and the only reason I'm bringing it up now is because it's gotten like some steam.
Okay.
So they're seeking a ban on transgender girls in girls' sports in Georgia. Mm-hmm. So they have gone to the state Senate on this. So they actually proposed it to the House first, and they didn't get as much traction, I should say. And then they turned it over to the Senate. This is Senate Bill 266. They voted 5-3 on Wednesday of this week to pass this bill so that athletes born as males cannot compete for public schools or private schools that play against public schools. And it only applies to women's sports. So they're saying it goes by your biological sex at birth, and you cannot participate in a women's sport if you were born a male. That part is interesting to me because why isn't it the reverse? So a girl can go and so a girl transitions to a boy, but now that she's a boy, she can play in boys sports, but the reverse can't happen.
Yeah, well, they don't think that person is going to win, so they don't think it's an issue.
So it's not about gender at all. It's about outcomes.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, think about everything we talked about hormones and stuff like that. That's what they're basing it off. Not that I didn't even want to bring her name into it because then it makes it sound like we're trying to equate this, but it's all in the same world of evaluating hormones, Casamigna and all that. That's why she was discriminated against, because of hormones. So I think that same backwards logic applies to the question you just asked, which is, okay, well, if a woman wants to transition into a man, well, men aren't really worried about that, these men, because they're like, well, I mean, that's great, but she's not going to have testosterone enough to win. And they're going to call her she. They're going to say that girl just wants to act like a man, but she's not going to win anything. Whereas a man transitioning to a woman, they're like, all right, but still going to have all the tools, so to speak, and the hormones. Georgia has too much time on their hands, period. So, independent of how I feel about the issue, the fact that they take time to do this is like whatever. The same thing about their abortion policy. The only thing I will say, this is extremely polarizing. There are a lot of people, whether they have daughters, I see a lot of women, I see a lot of, for some reason, Sham, I'll say this independent of the outcome, Black men especially have an inordinate amount of like passion and energy about this issue. Have you seen this on social media? And maybe it's because, maybe it's because of some of the groups I'm in.
Black men just seem to have an issue with homosexuality, trans. They have issues with both of those things. Like this doesn't surprise me.
So I'm in a lot of these sports groups and hip hop groups. And when I say energy, I don't just mean like, okay, if you ask them, they have a strong opinion.
No, it's hatred.
They will go out of their way to like post a story and be like, yo, look at this. And it's like, okay, I understand this is an issue that is worth discussing, but y'all are going out of your way to like find the story. Like, they say, I got a daughter. I don't want. Again, honestly, I haven't. I feel like the issue is so complicated because there are there are like concerns on both sides. I could see why, and we've talked about this before. I could see why a lot of women may feel some fear for a trans athlete to compete in their sport. Now, you've made a good point before. A lot of the trans athletes, it's not like they're breaking records or anything where they're like changing the sport, but they are beating, or some of them are beating cis, and I'm still trying to get my hands around cis women consistently. And those cis women are like, this isn't fair. They have testosterone or whatever. That's a hard argument to argue against. However, it's also hard to argue against a trans person being like, look, I'm just trying to compete. There's discrimination. So it's a hard issue. So I'll kind of take the coward's way out of that for now. Not coward, but whatever. I'll just take the off-ramp off that for now. The animus about the issue, I don't understand that. That's what I don't understand. Like the passion for people who are not intimately involved. If I had a daughter in the sport or whatever, and I wanted to speak out about it, fine. I don't have any kids. I'm not whatever. I'm not trying to say throw your hands up and walk away from it, but the passion that is brought into this issue is just, you said hate, and yeah, it is a lot of hate. Like, why are you so concerned about this? This is not going to turn our society upside down, as people are trying to make it seem like it will. And so I do have, my passion is for like, why don't y'all calm down? Like, we can all sit down in a room. It may take a while and it may be complicated, but we can all sit down in a room and figure this out. Like it can be done. Why don't you calm down? No, what do you think? Is that a decent way to look at it?
I agree. Calm down. Yeah.
Like
saying stuff like it takes a short period of time for women's sports to be decimated. Come on.
Like,
what are you saying?
What are you talking
women's
about?
Sports are going to be killed because of no. So only like there's a small percentage of people that are even doing this. Like, get out of here.
Like the Australian Open. So you know what? It's just like homosexuality, right? If you let homosexuals marry, it's going to destroy the nuclear family. What? Like, it's what I'm saying. Like, I don't even care. I'm not telling you how to think, whether you agree with it or not, but think about how you sound. How is allowing two gay people to marry going to destroy the nuclear family, which is what people said. When it's like, anyway, when heterosexuals get divorced 50% of the time, that destroys the nuclear family. And then your women's sports example. Yeah, you're right. I've heard people say that too. The Australian Open between Serena Williams and Naomi Osaka was probably the easy, like, biggest thing in sports since the Super Bowl. Like, over the last month. What are you guys talking about?
Right.
But yeah. So again, calm down.
Yeah. The guy who said that is a lawyer for the Alliance Defending Freedom, a conservative legal group. And Georgia is one of more than 20 states that have proposed the same ban this year. And he was asked if he knew the number of transgender girls playing sports in Georgia. And he was like, he didn't know. So you sit here talking about women's sports about to be decimated by this, and you don't even know how many. It could literally, like I just said, be a small percentage. It could be like 1.5% in the entire state of Georgia. How is that affecting women's sports as a whole? It's not.
This is a huge problem. How big?
I don't know.
I'm not exactly sure, but but I know it's big. I know that. It's got to be stopped now.
Fuck out of here. Stop playing.
Stop playing, indeed. On that note, indeed.
This wraps up episode 97 of the Stop Playing podcast. Thank you guys for joining us. We really appreciate it. Oh, we got some new listeners in Alaska, so I wanted to shout them out. I should have shouted them out at the beginning of the show.
Jam, you want to know why they listen? Oh, they don't even know yet. They're going to have a story coming up for them. Man, I jumped out of here. Hey, Alaskans, stay tuned. Stay tuned and be vigilant.
Right. Anyway, if you're listening, thank you so much. Tell a friend. Make sure they visit www.stopplayingpodcast.com. You can also listen to us on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. Remember, if you are listening on Apple Podcasts, please leave a review. We greatly appreciate it. Also see us on social media at Instagram and Facebook at Stop Playing Podcast. Also on Twitter at Stop_Playing Pod, and visit our YouTube channel as well at Stop Playing Podcast. Like I always say, keep your chips on the plate. No double dipping unless it's the podcast. And we'll talk to you again real soon.
Stop playing.